Hey, my name is Dale Johnson, and I like to make things. It's been a really long time since I've said that, but I haven't had like a reason to say it for a while because I haven't done any videos or anything, and doing these videos where you can actually see me, that's kind of a new thing. You might notice like my old avatar thingy is a little out of date. I might need to make a new one for that. But yeah. So, I mean, I've wanted to do a video like this for quite a while, but it used to be I shared a place with my brother and then my brother and my parents for like the longest time. And now I am living out the millennial dream. I have my own house. So welcome. There's not a lot to it. Most of my stuff is still at the old place. I have not moved it yet. I am just terrible at moving in. What I have moved in, it's still like in boxes and a mess. It's just all over the place. But in the future, maybe I'll do some more videos like this, and it'll look more like a place you'd actually want to be in instead of just an empty room with an echo. So anyway, it is what it is. But I wanted to use this opportunity to talk a little bit about something I have not talked about for a while, and that is Another Star 2, the game that I've been working on for like the past 5 years now. Wow. Um, has it been that long? It might have been longer. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about where this game came from. Another Star came out. I was working on it 2013, I do believe. It came out in 2014. And it was very heavily based on, yeah, just old style 8-bit games in general. And the NES is probably in Dragon Quest and games like that it's the most obvious kind of homages. But as far as kind of the graphics and some of the stuff like that, it's most rooted in actually the Sega Master System, which was the predecessor to the Genesis here in the U.S. If you're outside of the U.S., you might know better as the Mega Drive, the Sega Mega Drive. But it took a lot of inspiration for that. And there were two other games around that time that also were kind of homages to old systems. And I kind of consider the original Another Star to be in their kind of sister games. Even if the other two are a lot more famous and probably a lot better made, let's be honest. Those two games are for the NES Shovel Knight and for kind of the Sega Genesis and a little bit of the Sega Saturn almost, Freedom Planet. And they all came around out about the same time. And I can't remember, it's been so long I don't remember my years, but the one Christmas the trailer dropped for Freedom Planet 2, a game which is still not out yet, but it was really cool and exciting, I thought, and it's like wow. And so I did some mock-ups of what Another Star 2 might look like because the Another Star's sister game was getting a sequel. It seemed right just to kind of see and toy with what Another Star 2 might look like. And I thought these mock-ups turned out really, really cool. It's like, I want to make this game. Before that, I had really resisted making Another Star 2. It was something I wanted to do, at some point, do either a sequel or a successor game. But after seeing those screenshots, I decided, you know what, let's explore this a little further. And so I made a 100-something page document outlining the game's mechanics and how it worked and the story and the characters. And I decided, yes, I'm going to make this game. I've put all this work into it. I want to see this happen. And it has not happened yet, you might notice. Another Star 2, I will point out that's not necessarily its final title. Another Star 2 is taking a really long time to make. There are a couple of reasons for that. The first reason is there was a false start. I got really hung up on kind of this is what the game needs to be, is a very strict interpretation of the limitations and guidelines that I set out. And so it got carried away to the point where I was actually considering building an emulator for this made-up CPU and this made-up video card or video chip. And It's like, no, if you're gonna make a old style homebrew game, make an old style homebrew game. Go learn some NES programming or something like that. And I did for like another project just to say that I had. I'd kind of like to go back to that one day, but it's like, no, this is not the place for that. This is not the game. This game will never be finished if you're building like, this game will never be finished if you're like building an entirely new emulator to play your game on and just your game. It can't happen like this. So, yeah. Um, so I just about started from scratch about almost a year into the project. And so after that, development really picked up. It's like it was going really good, but I didn't, another thing happened. And for the longest time, I was working as a freelance graphic artist and illustrator and stuff like that, and I was not staying afloat. Um, I was very dependent on my parents for income, and that is not a great place to be when you're as old as I am. And it's like, okay, this is not working out. The game development thing was always kind of a side project to the 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 illustration and graphic design. And I mean, I really would have liked it if it had turned out that I could do that full time, but it just wasn't meant to be. And so another star did not do really great. And so it finally got to the point, it's like, I need a new job. And so eventually I got a job in retail. And I'm still in that job today. That's how I can afford this house and everything and all the stuff that I get to. I finally have all this money to spend on video games. I don't have time to play the video games, mind you, but I have the money to spend on video games and television and my computer and it's just all kinds of cool stuff. It's really great, but that means I don't have a lot of time to spend on this project. The third reason is I spent a lot of time working on the tools for Another Star 2 rather. Um, and a lot of these tools are like super unnecessary. I could have, even if I wanted to like not have them as a text file, I could still just do it like a text file and then compile that text file into data that the game can load. And it would be so much quicker than like making all these custom tools. There's a custom tool to make the items that the game uses, for the spells the characters use. The characters themselves have an editor. It's just completely unnecessary for this game. But I've already kind of locked myself into that. And so that's another reason the game is taking so long. Now, the biggest reason that it's taking so long right now, more than my job itself, is in 2020. I was really getting back on the bandwagon of working on this project, and stuff was starting to pick up, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna devote like my mornings and stuff to this before I go to work. COVID happened. The I live here in the United States, and we started kind of shutting down. And while a lot of people, you maybe included, got to go home and have like mini vacations and stuff, I was not so lucky because I work in grocery retail specifically. That means I was working so much overtime, and our shelves were empty. It was surreal. Um, I'd grab a cart of stuff to run, to stock, and I'd go down an aisle, and it would take me a minute, and I'd realize I'm in the wrong aisle because they all looked the same. They were all just there was nothing there. Um, and it's picked up. It's like died down since then, but I'm still working pretty ridiculous hours right now. Um, and I've kind of started moving up the ladder at work, which is really interesting. It was not necessarily something I intended to do, but yeah. So that's less time there. So that's made this game really difficult to work on. So all of that to say, and Another Star 2 is still in development. I have not canceled, I have not given up on this project. I still want to see it to completion, but it's going to take time. I've only got so much time to work on this project, and it's come to the point, now especially, that I've got to make some tough decisions about what I'm going to do with it. The one thing I need to do is I'm going to have to cut back on the scope of the project. This was going to be a little bit bigger of a game. It's still going to be bigger than the first Another Star, but I think it's time to start dialing back some of the just really out there plans that I had for it. And that's rough, but I think in the long run it's what needed to be done. Another Star, the first game, was meant to be like a 3-month project. Started out as like a 1-month project and then became 3 months, and it ended up taking 9 months from start to finish. And that was from that little bitty game ballooning. Another Star 2 was already meant to be like a couple-year project, and it has just exploded in size, and it's time to bring that back in. I have not entirely decided what all is going to happen there, but it is going to end up, features are going to get cut, and content is probably going to get cut. I'm probably going to have to chop out pretty big sections of the story that was being planned. And it's not a total loss. A lot of cases I think I'm going to end up trimming the fat. And so I think in the end it's going to end up a better game for that. There is one spot though where the game is going to suffer. And this is kind of something I haven't talked about with the game's development. Another Star 2 is meant to be a fairly non-linear game, actually. There is an opening area that you start in, and you have, that area starts out a lot like in the first Another Star. You can kind of go wherever, but there's a specific path you're supposed to take to the first dungeon, and you clear out that dungeon, and then in Another Star, you kind of move on from there. It's now you've got a new area to explore, and then you complete the dungeon. Now you've got a new area to explore, you complete that dungeon, and so on. There's a little bit of come back and forth, backtracking and stuff in there. But it's a fairly linear game altogether. It's you need to do A to go to B, and then B to go to C. There's not even that many. There's a lot of little explorable areas, but there's not that many side quests or anything. In Another Star 2, you've got that opening area, and there are a few different side quests in that area that you can do right off the bat, more so than in the first game. And this is like a little playground, and then after you get to a certain point, you go to the first dungeon and you clear it. And then there's a little bit more linearity, and then after that, a huge chunk of the game world is meant to open up. And from there, you have a lot of choices on where you want to progress. There is only one ending to the game, but there are a few different ways to get there. It might be time to kind of reevaluate that, and it's like, okay, it's time to go back to kind of the more traditional JRPG formula of a very linear story. And I really hate to do that. I'm going to hold off committing to that because the non-linearity of this game was just a really cool thing, especially the way I got it to work out. There are some features of the game that are kind of built in to accommodate this, because normally with a JRPG, it's very fine-tuned as far as the mechanics and the levels that you reach different enemies and stuff on. And there were ways that this game compensated for that I thought were really cool that I wanted to share. I don't think... I really want to make that happen, but if it doesn't happen, I apologize. I really wanted to see it too. We'll have to see what happens there. The other thing that this kind of means is there are going to be fewer devlogs. I've been posting at one point pretty often these little dev blogs, and I posted them on the TIG Source forums and also on the Vision Writers blog itself. They don't like take days to make, but they have a time sink in there. Especially because I'm posting them multiple places, and at one place I would like post links on Facebook, and I do Twitter links and stuff to reach out and get people in. It's just not feasible for me. Especially with how much of these I want. There's a pretty decent chunk of game development that I have not shown for a while, like the font having been resized that will probably remain in the game. It was originally just done as a test, but I think I'm gonna go stick with it. Um, so stuff like that. There's a few areas that I've like started working on that I haven't shown yet. I've shown on Twitter, but not on like dev blogs or anything because the time sync issue. I've only got so much time off now, and I want to be able to enjoy it. Like I said, these video games that I'm able to afford now, I want to play those. Also, I've just bought this house. It needs some work. It's not like a huge fixer-upper, but there are things I need to do with it to like get it to where it needs to be as far as living in it. Um, Here's an interesting thing to note. I don't have a shower. I've got to go to my parents' house after work every day and take a shower there because I've got like the tub in and I just got the walls up and stuff, but there's not really anywhere to take a shower. So sometimes every now and then I can take like a bath in there as long as I don't splash too much because there used to not be any walls. I had it down to the studs for a while, but it's not done yet. And that takes time too. And guess what gets priority? There's also a project I'm doing with somebody else that I'm doing freelance. And this is something that started kind of before, I guess it was after I started my day job, but it gets priority as well. It's not as much priority as my day job, obviously, but it's priority over this project. So I'm really hoping that you'll understand why this is taking so long and why the development is going the way it is. And I hate to like take away dev blogs and stuff like that, but I would kind of like to do more videos like this. And that is probably the direction that the blogs will go. Instead of having these very structured dev blogs, I'll probably have this video, I've got some notes like written down right here that I'm kind of working off of, but there's not really a strict, I don't have like my script or anything. It's just a very off-the-cuff kind of thing, just seat in my pants, just, okay, here's what I want to share, let's share it. And obviously it's being edited afterwards. It's being cut, you can't always tell it because I'm stitching in like shots and stuff in the game. But I'm hoping to get this to the point where I can do these real quick, maybe once a month I can show what I've done. And you can get like all the videos and all the images and stuff are all packed into this one video. And just link that video. The smaller updates, I can show like pictures on the blogs and stuff like that. But these videos it might be time to just bring it all into one thing that I don't have to switch across. And even the videos, it'll take a little bit of experimenting because if these videos take too long, then what was the point? I'm not cutting a whole lot of time down. But anyway, it was really cool to share the development of the game like this and to kind of show you what's going on behind the scenes and show you my empty-ish house. You ought to see my desk. It's a mess right now. So hopefully the next time you see this, it'll be a little bit more interesting in the background other than like this case piece to the computer case I don't even have anymore. How it ended up over here, I don't know. And at least you can see my amiibos. Yeah, the video's not mirrored, so I don't know which hand to pull. I'll get used to it. Anyway, it was really cool to share this all with you guys. Hopefully it was something that you could enjoy as well. So, anyway, again, this is Dale Johnson. See you later.